Okay, take a look at the screen
from an app.
for the moment here. I'm starting with B major. Caitlin, what note do we start with? B.
Oh yeah.
Right? Next, what do I need to do to figure out what the next notes are of the major scale? What's the next step? Isaac, what do you think? Okay, hold on one second. Hey, come back. Okay, so Isaac says to start with the whole step. Why?
That's
Okay, the tetrachord is WWH. Why do we need to remember the tetrachord?
That's the formula for the scale.
What's the relationship between the tetrachord and the major scale?
The last section of the tetrachord is the beginning of each scale. I think I don't know.
That is related. But for this part, I only have one scale. I asked Isaac, hey, what do we do next? And Isaac mentioned we need to do next a whole step because the pattern for the tetrachord is WWH. Okay, why? Why is that important?
Because that helps you remember the formula.
What is the formula for a major scale?
Whole, half, whole.
How is that related to the tetrachord?
Because it's broken up
Into?
two tetrachords.
Thank you. Right? So you have two tetrachords. They're connected by a whole step. Right?
It's a half step you put there.
Sorry, you're right. Just testing, yeah.
Oh,
No, that was genuinely a mistake. Right. And this is on video, so you can replay it if you want. Okay. Whole, half. Okay. Reminder here: what we're talking about is the steps between the two notes. So if it helps, you can also write this down to remember. I wrote this every letter of the alphabet here. Why did I do that? You think? Yeah.
because in a major scale, every letter is used at least once.
Okay, you have to use every letter of the alphabet at least once. Why is that important? Because some notes you can use two letter names to describe the same button on the keyboard. Right? For example, you find F sharp on the keyboard, which is the first of the group of three black keys. What's another name for that? What's that? G flat, exactly. Okay. So for major scales, okay, you have to use every letter of the alphabet. That is to say, if your next letter is going to be F, okay, the note of that scale has to be F sharp, right, to describe that note. Okay, a whole step above B is what? C sharp. It has to be some kind of C, okay. Next, a whole step above C sharp is,
D sharp.
what's that?
D sharp.
Say that again, Jabari?
D sharp.
D sharp, thank you. Okay. And a half step above D sharp is some kind of an E. Just E. Okay. So now you have the first four notes of the tetrachord starting with B. Okay. Next, I need a whole step above E, which is what? F sharp. And a whole step above F sharp, G sharp. And a whole step above G sharp. Whole step above G sharp. A sharp. Excellent. Right? And then a half step back to B. A few things. Here's the last tetrachord. So here's the first tetrachord. And those two tetrachords are connected by a whole step. A few things here as you review for the quiz and also for the midterm. A few things when you're reviewing your answers should help troubleshoot. One is look at the accidentals. If you have used accidentals, they need to be all sharps or all flats. If you ended up with a scale that has some sharps and some flats, that is not correct. Okay? It most likely is due to some of the notes not using every letter of the alphabet, or that you messed up your pattern for making a scale. Okay, that's one. Number two is if you follow this pattern correctly, you will end up with a note that's an octave higher than the note that you began with. Okay, that is to say, the first note and the last note of the scale would both be the name of the scale, which is B. If you ended up with something like C or an A or something like that, that's another marker to say like, hey, go back and check your notes. One other way, a strategy that you can use to check your work here is start with just all the notes of the letter of the alphabet. So for example, I'm going to start with D flat major. One strategy I could use here, because I know that every note of the scale uses all the letters of the alphabet, is just I'll start by just putting down the letters D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and D, right? Which is similar to what some of you have done for the quiz. But what is missing from a few of those answers are the accidentals, okay? So this is not the correct answer. It's a part of it, right? This assures you that you're using every letter, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and so forth. But now we have to use flats to manipulate the note so that it responds to the pattern correctly. What's a whole step above D flat? Brian M.
Is it sharp?
What's that?
That's sharp. Sharp E, E sharp.
Why E sharp?
E flat.
E flat.
Oh, E flat.
E flat.
That's
Okay.
that was my thing.
So careful. Okay. If you had a sharp here, that's sort of a warning bell, because the scale itself is D flat major. You can only have flats. Okay. From a whole step between E flat and F, Jennifer, what's a whole step? Is that a whole step? E flat to F? E flat to F. Find it? Yes. Okay. Colin, F to G, is that a half step? Okay, so how would you make that a half step?
Flat.
Flat. Which note would you flat?
G.
G flat.
G flat. Okay. If you're using this method, please make sure that you're sort of checking it off as you go, so you don't forget where you are. You can only add flats to the next note. Okay. The next note we're looking at is between G flat and A. I need a whole step. Okay. So Nathaniel, is that a whole step? G flat to A?
G flat. A.
No.
No. So how do we make that a whole step?
A flat.
A flat. Right. From A flat to B, okay, I need a whole step. Okay. So Joshua, is that a whole step? A flat to B?
No.
Yeah, no.
A flat to B.
That's what I tried.
No, not a whole step. A flat, it's a black key, right?
Mhm.
Okay, the second of the group of three. And from A flat, where is the next whole step? B flat. Right? And then from B flat to C, is that a whole step? For Zana, is that a whole step? B flat to C? Yeah. And then we're back to D flat. Okay? So the major scale starting on D flat major. You have the first tetrachord and the last tetrachord. Going back to the B major scale, how many sharps are in the B major scale?
5.
5. What are they?
C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, D sharp.
How many flats are in the D flat major scale?
Five.
How many flats are in the D flat major scale?
Five.
2. 6.
Who says 6? Raise your hand. Good. Who says 5? The rest of you are abstaining. I know it's a hard decision. D flat major. There are 5 flats in D flat major, right? The 6th one you see is the same as the first one.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't really count. Okay.
It's just an octave.
It's just an octave. Okay. Remember, in a key signature, just like in the LOVE song, right? Any F in that piece, if you turn back around, right? There's only one here. But for this whole piece, any F sharp, so that includes an F sharp on the treble clef, an F sharp on the bass clef, any F you see will be an F sharp, which means we're really only counting one F as an F sharp. Okay. take a look at the second part of this worksheet. Okay, there are 4 boxes. I'm asking you to write out these key signatures. I'd like you to write out the key signature for D flat major and B major, since we just did these 2 scales, okay? So first you're gonna write the key signature for D flat major on the treble clef. Next you're gonna write the key signature for B major also on the treble clef. So,
Excuse me. Comparing to this, I have a feeling this mine is wrong, and that is right. But why?
so here is the answer for D flat major. Okay, this is from Nathaniel. Can you describe what you see here? What do you see? What flat do you start with? What?
D.
No. B. Thank you. B flat. Careful with the flat. Yeah. Okay. So you start with the B flat, right? And then you go up to what note here? What flat?
E flat.
E flat. Okay, so it's a 4th. B, C, D, E. Okay, and then from E flat you're going down to A flat, and then up to D flat, finally down to G flat. I'm gonna just clarify this a little bit with these 2 guys. Okay. Right. And also notice that Nathaniel had the B, you know, the B of the flat sign, the open loop, okay, be describing be either on a space or in line, as if it were an accidental to a note itself. There's no notes here, of course, right? But it's the same idea. Also note that these are in order, that they are all separated into roughly different columns. Okay, so I've talked about this briefly last week, which is why I wanted to reconfirm this. When you're writing key signatures, okay, there's this very specific pattern that has to adhere to. Okay, first of all, they have to be in the same order. Second of all, it has to all be separated into columns. Okay, so you can't have this. Right? Because it's really hard to read. Also, part of what Stephanie was asking, why is it this way? Okay? Why is the key signature arranged in this manner? Why do you think? Hey, what is the key? What major scale has only 1 flat? Flat.
Oh,
F. Okay. And what scale has 2 flats? B flat major. And what are those 2 flats? B flat
B flat.
and E flat. Right. So if you have a major scale that has only 1 flat, right, it will be a B flat. If it has 2 flats, right, it will always be B flat and E flat. If it's 3 flats, it will always be B flat, E flat, and A flat, and so forth. Right? The pattern here is that for every scale that uses flats or sharps, right, whether or not they're using the number of sharps or flats is not random. They're all related to the circle of fifths, and also for every scale that has 1 additional flat, for example, than the previous one, all the other ones are still in play. Okay? So you won't ever find a sort of a pattern of random flats. Right? They're all in the same order, which is part of the reason why we use this given order of flats. Right? What are all the notes? Well, let's see. What's one scale that has all the notes being flatted? You know? C flat major. Okay, so if C major has no flats, no, like that. C flat major has all of the notes being flat. So this would be the complete pattern of the flats. B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat, and F flat. Okay. Write this down in that giant treble clef that's in your worksheet here. Okay. This is the order of the flats in a key signature. All of the key signatures that you use will use a subset of this key signature. Okay, if it's a key signature with 2 flats, you use the first 2. If it's a key signature with three flats, you use the first 3. Okay, but all of the key signatures, okay, they have to be derived from essentially from this key signature if it's a flat. Okay. Yeah, we'll copy that down. Next, what's the other key I had? B major, right? Right. B major. How many sharps are in B major?
5. Yeah.
5, 2. What's the first sharp? It's F sharp. Did I have B major, or is that right?
B major.
Yeah, B major, yeah. Right. So the B major key signature would be this. Right? F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, and B sharp. Okay. Right. And then if you take a look at all the sharps, okay, for a key with all the notes sharp, that's C sharp major, right? So then you'll have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, right? A sharp, right? E sharp, and B sharp. Okay, B, E, A, D, G, C, F. Okay. So I'm using different clefs here, okay? But the point here is that for every sharp key signature you're going to use, again, there'll be a subset of this key signature for C sharp major. Okay. Okay. What's the here? Do you have your book with you? If you do, please and please bring your book. Turn to page 46 and 47. Okay, this is two lessons related to the 2 sharps and 2 flats, which were done last week. And just above the exercises part, it says important. Nicole, can you read that? Important. We're on page 46. Not lesson 46. Page 46. Lesson 29. Lesson 29, important. Can you read that? To figure out.
To figure out the name of a major key from the key signature, go over half step from the last sharp.
Okay. Read as an example.
A key signature of F sharp would be the key of G major.
Mhm.
The key of signature of F sharp and C sharp would be the key of D major.
Okay. Here it's telling you that if you have a given key signature, okay, to tell what scale it belongs to, you need to go up a half step from the last sharp. Right? If I have a given key signature here for B major, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp, and A sharp, okay, I'm taking a look at the last sharp, and this is a way to help you remember how to identify key signatures. If you're given this, you're taking a look at the last sharp, and you're going up a half step from this sharp. So A sharp goes up a half step. That means this is a B major key signature. Okay. On the flip side, on page 47, lesson 30, important. Okay, this is for flat keys. Okay, important. Deja, can you read that? Important to figure out.
To figure out the name of a major key from the key signature, remember that one flat is the key of F. For 2 or more flats, the next to last flat is the name of the key. As an example, a key signature of B flat would be the key of the
B,
flat
meh.
major.
Thank you. Okay, so for flat keys, if you're confronted with a key signature and you have to know what key, what scale this belongs to, you're always looking at the second to last flat, and that tells you essentially the name of the key. So this is a C flat major scale. Okay, this is a way to help you remember the relationship. the important point here, it starts with this guy. Okay, if it's just one flat, there is no second to last flat, and you have to memorize that this is F major. Okay, so with that, okay, now you're able to figure out a few things. Well, first of all, let's step back here. What's the first thing that we did on this worksheet? Major scale, Barry. What do we do with the major scale?
Writing it out.
Okay, and how do we do that, Brian Ramirez?
Tetraploid things.
Okay.
WH.
Good. So walk me through here. Leon, pick it up.
C.
No. What's that?
B flat.
B flat. Okay, a B flat major scale. How would you, a producer comes to say like, hey, I need to write a song in B flat major, and you have to figure out what that means. So what are you gonna do next?
You got a whole
Starting with what note?
B flat.
B
B
flat.
flat. Okay. After you've done, sorry, go ahead. I was going to say after you've done that, okay, then you write out in the accidentals. Now you're writing a whole song, okay, and you're going to put a key signature in front, right? How do you know which key signature to use for this song, this mega hit by Liana in B flat major? How do you know which key signature you're going to write down? What's the strategy first? Well, for one thing, you need to know which notes are flat. So from what Brian's telling us, if I did it all correctly, right, then I can figure out, oh, this B flat major scale has two flats, right? I know that the B flat major scale has two flats, and it's B flat and E flat, right? How do I write this key signature now for this sheet music? Well, there's only two flats, so which one would come first?
B.
B flat. Why B flat, William?
It follows the circle.
Right, it follows circle fits is also just a pattern. The correct answer is just the pattern. It starts with B flat. Okay? So then you would start with B flat, and then you would write an E flat. Is that right? Looking at this. Is this correct?
No.
Why not?
E flat has to be above.
The E flat has to be above. It has to correspond to this pattern of flats. Okay? So that's the thing you have to remember. You can also double check your work here. You have two flats. If I look at the second to last flat, it's B flat. That means that it's a B flat major scale. Okay, this is the key signature. Okay. Another thing that we did on the sort of the giant treble clef and bass clef here, I gave you the order of the flats and sharps of these of the key signatures and major keys. For sharps, the order is F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, and B sharp. For flats, it's the exact reverse. I remember it as BEAD, GCF, greatest common factor. B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat, F flat. Okay. You can also do fat cats go down alleyways or alleys eating bananas. That's one way to think about, remember the order of sharps in the key signature. For the flats, bead, GCF, I don't know why it makes no sense, but sometimes that helps you remember. Also note that the pattern here for the sharps, it breaks the pattern of going up and down. So it goes down to the E sharp, and down to the C sharp, and it goes up to the G sharp and so forth. Starting here, okay, it keeps going down. Why do you think that is? If I did this, if I kept going up, E, okay. The bass clef is not as important, but in the treble clef, then you have to start using ledger lines. Okay, so when you combine ledger lines with sharps, it makes it a little bit less easy to read. That's why for the correct pattern, right, we change the order of going up and down on the staff to going down to the A sharp. Okay. So again, as a part of the requirement for the quiz a week from today, I'm gonna ask you, very similarly to the top of this worksheet, to tell me, write out the notes of the major scale, the given major scale, and then also tell me write out the correct key signatures. If you are feeling like you're unfamiliar with this still, I would urge you to do a few things. First, I'm gonna give you a worksheet. I'm gonna also give you the quiz back, so make sure you get the quiz back from me before you leave. But before you leave, take a copy of this worksheet, and I'd like you to complete it as best as you can and bring it back on Thursday. We'll continue reviewing this. This is some strategies for you to do better on the quiz on the scales part. Okay, and also I'll put it over here on this music stand. And also, the thing is to review the exercises in the textbook, and then also in Musician. Musician asks you to write out the note to the scale on the computer. It's going to evaluate it. Please use that to your advantage. That's part of the reason why we're doing this. And also, use a pencil to do the exercises on the textbook as well. Okay? Good. I will see you on Thursday.
Thank you.
Thanks. You can put the cards over here.
This is the one probably.
Yes. Please take a copy of this before you leave, and also the quiz, your last name.